Alright, so hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and update 27.1 has just arrived like an hour ago, and it brought with itself a bunch of changes as well as some new augments, so let's check them out. Starting off with the augments, we have Balefire Surge, which is an augment for Hildren's Balefire. This makes it so that whenever you fully charge a balefire shot, it will restore 250 shields to you, which is affected by power strength, and if you manage to hit a nullifier bubble, it will destroy it forever and restore 750 shields, which is also affected by power strength instead. And yes, it works both on the ground with just a single balefire and in the air when you have two of them. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't play Hildren a lot, I don't actually play her at all nowadays, so I'm not entirely sure how useful this actually is to you Hildren players, but it definitely seems cool. The second augment is called Bloodforge, and it's for Garuda's Bloodletting. Now, this one is extremely straightforward. What it does is just reload your weapon whenever you use Bloodletting. Now, I personally don't see an awful lot of potential in this augment, but then again, I don't play Garuda an awful lot, so maybe if you play Garuda more, you can do something cool with it, and all I can tell you is that it works for both regular weapons as well as battery weapons. Also, it doesn't generate ammo out of nowhere, it just straight up reloads the weapon. Next on the menu, we have Endless Lullaby for Baruch's Lull. This one is pretty cool, so it has a passive portion which just straight up increases the duration of your lull by 50%, which is really dope, and an active portion which makes it so that whenever you do a finisher on an enemy that was put to sleep by lull, it will trigger lull again on top of that enemy with 100% of the remaining duration. This one is pretty insane because as far as I can tell there is no cap to this, so I started off in the corner of the simulacrum by casting lull once, then as these enemies go to sleep I start doing finishers on them, which triggers lull over and over and over again, which puts the chaps in the middle of the simulacrum to sleep, so I can run up to them and start doing finishers there, which once again triggers a lull over and over and over and over again, and in the end I was able to do a finisher on every single one of the 20 heavy gunners that I spawned and scattered throughout the simulacrum by casting lull once. And I still had time to spare, there were still like 4 or 5 seconds left on the original lull. So if you utilize this properly, you can wreak some serious havoc with this. And the final augment is also for Baruch, it's called Reactive Storm, and it's for Serene Storm, and what it does is it gives it 35% base status, which is insane because you can very easily hit 100% status with it now, and it makes Serene Storm adapt its damage based on the enemy you're fighting to exploit their weaknesses. Now, I'm not 100% sure how this works because it's very new and it's kind of hard to tell what it actually does, but what I do know is that the damage output is much smoother, especially if you're fighting something like the Corrupted, which have a variety of unit types, and it doesn't convert all the damage. I modded mine with Corrosive and Heat, and while I did see it combine the Heat into Blast in one of the missions that I did, it never converted Corrosive into something else. Next up, we have some Kuva Lich changes and additions. So the first thing we have here is 3 new Kuva weapons. There is an explosive Kuva bow called Kuva Brahma, which looks very cool indeed. Then the Kuva Hind, aka Le Kuva Baguette, and finally the Kuva Nucor. Now, while I don't have these, and it's probably gonna take a while for me to get them from my liches because RNG is RNG, they did showcase the bow on a dev stream, so what it does is it fires an explosive arrow that releases a bunch of grenades that then explode as well, so it's kind of like a Tsar-ish bow. The standard Hind is a burst rifle, and that's pretty much all you can say about that, and the Nucor is a pretty interesting secondary. It's a beam weapon that has very high critical multiplier but very low critical chance. That's what the normal versions are anyway. Then for the Kuva Lich changes, they made it so that you can now see the weapon the Lich is going to be equipped with when you down a larvaling, so you can actually decide whether or not you want to spawn the Lich. You can either just kill the larvaling and spawn the Lich with that weapon, or you can leave it there, extract, which will not spawn the Lich, and you can try another larvaling. Then there is a change to the Kuva Liches themselves, so when you now guess the incorrect combination of Requiem mods when stabbing a Lich in a mission, you won't just straight up die. Instead, the Lich will just be like, "Nyaha! I am immortal, you peasant," and go away. And it's all pretty seamless, it's actually quite smooth. Though in this particular example, the Lich just decided to skate away as soon as I stabbed it. Then they finally decided to buff the Liches that you've converted and decided to help you out in a mission, so they will now stay for at least 2 minutes, which is quite nice. They will do much more damage, at least about 3 times as much damage, which was needed as well, and they will actually use their abilities, which is something they didn't do before. Then they decided to increase the chance for a Lich to have an ephemera from 10 to 20%, which is very welcome as well. And this is probably my favorite change of all time, they finally decided to implement the Requiem tries and failures against a Lich into the Parazon mod screen, so you don't have to constantly ping pong back and forth between that and the Lich screen to figure out which mods you actually want to equip. Then there is a pretty big change to what was originally the valence transfer of Kuva weapons, where you would take the stats of one Kuva weapon and transplant them onto another, so you don't have to format like bazillion different Kuva weapons if you got a better version, and it's now called valence fusion. Now I unfortunately don't have any Kuva dupes right now, so I can't show you how it works, but what it does is instead of transplanting the stats from one weapon to another, it will instead fuse the weapons together, giving you a weapon that's stronger than both the weapons you fused. So it basically allows you to upgrade your Kuva weapons by feeding them dupes. And then there are two changes that are not listed as major changes, but they are pretty damn big. So first of all, the Omni tool is now an actual item that you can put into your gear wheel. So you can now have a reliable spot for it, so you can actually like assign it a hotkey. And the second change has to do with heavy melee attacks, so they reverted the change which allowed you to do heavy attacks by holding the light attack button. Now I still don't understand why this isn't a toggle in the menu, so we either have it or we don't, but it's a good change nonetheless, because it was really annoying with some stances on certain weapons, because if you are building for any kind of combo stacking, whether it be Blood Rush, Weeping Wounds, that kind of stuff, you could lose the majority of your damage by doing an accidental heavy attack, which as I've said with some melee weapons and some stances would happen a lot. So while I would be happier if this was a toggle that we could turn on and off in the menus, I think it's better this way. And I think that's pretty much it when it comes to the bigger, more important changes that came in with this update, but I will of course leave a link to the full forum post in the description. And as always guys, I thank you very much for watching, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.